rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's fine, that's it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please note the time. Please note the time. For the record, Councilman Cologne is not here. This begins he apologizes, he is ill. The couple of things on upcoming meetings and agendas, hold on, because the thing came out. Good, Tony, you know what, you're here.
Okay, great. I sent several emails to the board regarding Monroe Department of Transportation in regard to using our salt bin as they've been for the past 30 years to store their salt, and they've always given us a 10% return. I need the board's decision within the next few days if they can store their salt in the bin, because there's been a lot of controversy. I haven't had it in 4 years, but apparently there is now. I don't know what the problem is. But I need the board to decide whether you have to vote on it or not, so the school district can use the bin to store their salt.
I don't think you have a problem with this. I'm not on, George. I don't think the board at this point has a problem with this.
Okay.
The same as every other year, right?
The last email was with Peter, wasn't it? With
Yes.
you, where you made one suggestion?
Right.
Right, I think that they should name us as an additional insured. I
That's
think-
already been done.
Okay, all right. Then that was my only legal issue with it.
And they also are,
And they're requesting, I think, something
Yes.
the reverse as well.
yes, and we
Okay.
will, they will give insurance, we will give them insurance.
Okay.
You have
We need a motion for it.
I'll make a motion that we allow the school to use the salt bin at the highway department.
Second,
I'll
Okay.
second the motion.
call question?
I
Aye.
just want to discuss one thing. Can we make it pending attorney approval, because there was some legal issues floating around? Tony? you just
Yeah,
mentioned-
what, is there a legal issue?
Yeah.
Well, that
Let's
that
make
one
sure
we
it's
just
ironed
discussed.
out.
Insurance.
Yeah, I just need to see a certificate of insurance. from
I
the
have that
school.
ready.
I haven't seen it, I haven't gotten it yet.
I will send it to you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Okay,
Pending attorney approval.
Right,
thank you.
so pending
Aye.
attorney approval. Okay, good.
All right, aye.
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 Okay. Number two, our compost facility is overloaded. We need to hire a material grinder processor to grind up materials there because it's turned into a fire hazard. Right now, it's going to be about a 3 or 4 day process, approximately $9,000. And we do have it in our budget. I need permission from the board to vote on this so I can hire the company to do this, so we can eliminate any problems of fires. As you all know, children break through the fence, go over the fence, and we don't want them starting a fire in our compost facility.
Is this, Tony, mine isn't working either.
That's right, speak loud.
Is it? Is this?
Peter, you're not on, I don't think I'm on.
Is this a specialty company?
No, it's a company who's material handling. We have.
No, I
used
mean,
it.
is this something that's
Yes,
offered by
specialty.
only a special select group of companies?
There's only,
Because $9,000, really, you should be out there with a couple bids.
right, I'll get a
So
couple.
what's the story on that?
Well, a couple of bids. There's only, the nearest company is in upstate New York, and there's one in way down in Jersey.
So if you had to, if you.
Well, I'll get other bids. That's not a problem. The thing is, I just need, well, you can't give me authorization until you have the bids.
Can't authorize it until you have the bids.
Okay.
But you're gonna get the bids, so that, okay?
Okay,
Without putting it's, they're taking away the compost material?
no, they're grinding it all up.
They're grinding it up, but doesn't that create the same kind of
Well, no, it's in wood chip form, the
Reduces
risk,
the volume.
volume, and our residents take the wood chips for their gardens and so forth, mulch.
Okay, so you'll get back to us with,
Yes, I will. Okay, one more issue, radios. Since I got into office and prior to that, our radio systems in our trucks are 30 years old. They don't work very well. I haven't had a radio for 2 years in my truck. We had proposals since 2013, and actually the price has been reduced due to the fact that radios have come back from leasing, from other companies from leasing. The Nicomco company, which Bill is in the audience, he can give you more details, have been reduced from a cost of $1,080 a month to $775 a month, and still carry the new warranties.
That's per radio?
That's per month for approximately 23 radios.
Okay, total, for the
Total
month.
for the month. That includes all the service. Bill, if you'd like to come down for a minute, maybe you can explain just a few moments of your time.
Nine grand.
Switch.
Thanks for your time. I'm Bill Tuthill, resident of Monroe for 34 years, off of East Monbation. Our company is Nicomco. We do a lot with the county business for radios. We also take care of a lot of the municipalities in Orange County. Our company did an evaluation going back around 2012 of the radios. Out of 25 vehicles, 11 vehicles were able to be put together with working radios at that time, and those are the old radios, the old 30-year-old radios. So I've been working with Mr. Rizzo, just trying to keep track of things. Our company offers an exclusive service. We have a tower network that runs throughout the region, everything from Bel Air Mountain all the way down to the Orange Rockland border. And the surrounding municipalities, the DPWs in the surrounding municipalities, just get the list so I can get it accurate. Town of Blooming Grove, Warwick, Minisink, Tuxedo, Goshen, Chester, as well as Orange County DPW and Orange County 911 are able to be reached by DPWs on a supervisor level with our system. It's an exclusive network that we have. So again, working with Mr. Rizzo, I've just been tracking over the years. Anytime there was promotions, offers, things like that that became available, I'd work up a proposal. And so the original pricing was around $1,080 a month. And what we're able to do now is we control our own leasing. We hold the paper for our leasing. And it's the same leasing program that the county DPW uses and a lot of the other municipalities. So we get lease returns of our equipment. And so we're able to do 23 refurbished Motorola XPR 4550s. And then the rest are new. Base station, a remote to go in the supervisor's office, 2 new radios to go into the supervisor, well, one for the supervisor's vehicle and the second one for the Jeep, and then 2 portable radios which flaggers would use. Using that package, we can do that for $775 a month, which will give you all the working trucks that we're aware of on a 60-month program, and that's all inclusive. That's the full service, network access. If a driver's going down the road, knocks an antenna off, we take care of it, we replace it. It's full service.
So
Everything.
That's full service, completely warranted for a 5-year period.
Yes. Yep.
This would be charged to the DB fund, and the DB fund has a contractual line that still has, I think at the moment, something on the order of $40,000 balance
Yeah,
for the
something
year.
like that.
So DB could certainly afford to do this, and it would not require amending the budget because they would take it out of that contractual line.
What about bidding? Tony?
We've had several companies in there, if you'd like us to bid it. This is a lease situation. I'll give you an idea. The purchase of the system will be about $31,300. Okay, plus a $429 service fee every month. I'm sorry, network fee. If you figure just the difference out, what you're doing is actually for the service you're getting, full service, $775 a month versus purchase and it's only limited service. Okay, it's a much better deal, and it covers completely. If the radio goes down, they replace it.
The other, if you don't mind, I'll throw in, the other thing is, the system that we offer is the only one that can give interoperability with the surrounding DPWs. Like we've all learned from the superstorms and other situations, being able to do shared services if necessary. You know, who's got this, who's got that on a supervisor level. The supervisor will be able to call out to the other surrounding supervisors that are on our system. Nobody else can offer that. We also have a base station at Orange County 911 directly into dispatch. So if there was a catastrophic situation and DPW needed to call out on a super level, they can go right into the 911 dispatch.
Do you do the county communication system?
We do a lot of the backroom equipment of the communication system.
County DPW, they're
Yes.
using
They're using our equipment and
And
this.
what
this
about
system.
what about like the fire companies, ambulance corps?
Fire companies and ambulance corps are public safety. This is public service. So this is a public service network. It's designed specifically for DPWs and
So there's not a tie-in to those?
tie-ins can be made.
But they're not right now?
Well, there isn't, no. It's
Okay.
not, it's not what it's designed for.
Okay.
So what I hear is, you said $775 a month,
Mhm.
and then is it a contract?
60 months.
Excuse me?
60-month
60-month
contract?
A
program.
5-year contract?
Five-year.
And is there any cancellation clause?
It's a 60-month lease. We don't really do cancellation clauses. If you had something that your council wanted to write up, you know, I can bring it in, you know, to be reviewed, that sort of thing.
We've had a number of contracts where, with 30 days notice or 90 days notice, we could cancel the contract. That would be an excellent clause. I mean, you're confident that you can provide what the highway department needs, so it shouldn't be something you'd be afraid of.
No, I'm not afraid of it. If the council wants to write something up, you know, we bring it back to management and they'll look it over and, you know, have our council look at it. It's not a problem.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That makes everyone a little
Yeah.
easier on, because as they mentioned here several times tonight, I don't know if you were here, when you have different boards coming in and out, you don't want to tie anyone to that for, unless you have to.
Mhm.
So let's think about that and our council draws on up.
Yeah, I have copies of the standard lease program that we use in the county and the other municipalities. I have it here with me. I can leave that for review.
Thank you.
Putting my old leasing hat on, an upfront cost, capitalization reduction, price is sometimes included. Do we have any upfront costs in this?
There's no
contract?
upfront cost. And billing doesn't begin until everything is in place and you're smiling.
Anything at the end to buy out?
No, what you can do is at the end, you can either roll it over month to month if you like, if that's something that works into your situation. Don't know, a lot of the equipment, the 23 units that are at the core are, our equipment, they're refurbished, so they've been out to lease already. So I don't know if you really want to do a buyout, going 5 years and then 5 years more. I don't know if we're being.
Do you have an upgrade clause? An upgrade clause?
Upgrade?
Upgrade to another model?
Yeah, you can do it, once the lease is over, going into the end of the lease, we always can find incentives, because other things will be coming off lease.
Yeah.
So, I've been here for 34 years, so we'll keep on working for you,
The other thing that is most common in leases is that once you sign up for a 60-month deal, you're obligated for 60 months. It's not like a loan where you can buy out the remaining principal. A lease is a lease.
Mhm.
So whoever raised the question before about whether we can get out early, yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
Right. You can make all your payments and then you can get out.
Right.
well, we don't do third-party leasing, so the paper is held by NICOMCO, so you're not dealing with the.
So we can negotiate.
Yeah, you're not dealing with city card or city cap, all that sort of stuff. But like I said, if the town attorney wants to write something up, the copies of what we use is here. Just give it back to me with something that you want us to look at, and I'll be happy to look at it.
Thank you.
How long would it take to do this if the town board is signed on?
We would make it, once we get signed docs, we would make it a priority. I already spoke to our management, because obviously with winter coming, you want it as soon as possible, DPW. So we'd make it a priority. So we'd probably be looking at, realistically, about 4 weeks.
Something like 4 weeks to get it installed,
Yeah, I mean.
after signing the contract?
Yeah.
The whole
and
system.
That would be
All right, that raises another issue. As far as the budget goes, Peter, you said there's room. Did you mean there's room in this year's budget?
This year's budget still has, out of a $175,000 line item, we've got about $40,000 left. And that's typical that there's room in that budget, so I'm sure that it can be well handled in the 2016 budget. And going forward, you can put it in as a line item. Just reduce that other line.
Thank you.
But the reason why this upgrade is so necessary, if you think back to hurricanes that we had, our cell phone communication was down, especially during Hurricane Sandy. This would give us intermunicipal communications with not only all the members in the truck, the supervisor, other municipalities that we already share equipment with. If they need a machine, if we need a machine, it's at just a phone call away or just a radio frequency away. It's been a necessity since I got in, and the pricing is right in comparison to what it was in 2012. There was no leasing units available. Now there are. So the thing is, the benefit of the price from $1,080 a month to $775, and this is completely full service. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's other companies I looked into. If you like to get a comparison, no problem. While I'm still in office, I can do that. But this company is very reputable, and for them to be hired for 911, okay, to do their communications and the backroom communication, the heart network of that system, I think it's a company that we should go with. But if the board would like, I will get another quote.
I think we have to, according to just procurement policy.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think everyone's in agreement. It's just we need to just search it out one more step, and then at the next meeting, we'll probably be able to make a decision.
Very good.
Okay.
Does that have to be drawn up with the attorney as far as, so apples are apples and oranges are oranges? Because I know if there's any proprietary control you have, you don't want to give away certain things, but it's got to be fair.
The issue you're going to have is that nobody else can give you the interoperability. This is almost like if a municipality has Time Warner, they also don't have FiOS for it. You know what I'm saying?
But
it doesn't work.
if that's the case, then and we can go on the advice of the highway superintendent. If there is no other alternative, then
That's another story.
the town can make a decision right now
We don't need to bid.
regarding this, and we don't have to go to the next step because there's really no comparison.
You don't have.
So again, it requires the highway superintendent to be able to vouch for this.
And just to point out, that is not something that the board is determining as a board decision. That is what is part of the codified policy for procurement that we have in the town of Monroe. So
Yeah,
what you've
it's
stated
not-
is exactly what that policy says.
I personally, I don't have a problem. I don't think the board would have a problem making the motion. We have a history, like most boards, of doing these kind of motions. Again, if the highway superintendent feels comfortable with it, I think I would make the motion to.
We have an offer that they would allow for,
Dennis?
Subject to the attorney?
yeah.
Determine whether you needed another bid.
We don't.
Yeah,
the
we don't
policy
need another
really-
bid.
Procurement procurement allows that.
But we have an offer on the table that they would give us the cancelability and
Yeah.
let our attorney work that up. So I think we should accept that. There'll be a new board in, and we'll be sticking them with a system for 5 years with no chance of changing it. So,
At least have the out drawn out.
excuse
Well,
me?
put it
At
this
least
way.
have the out drawn up.
Right.
Yeah.
If the board would
We've
like
been offered that, let's take that offer.
to get another bid, I mean, I can do that, but it's gonna be apples to apples.
Yeah, no,
not
we don't
apples
need
to
another
oranges.
bid. I think we determined that
Not
this
gonna
is.
be apples
this
to
is-
apples.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Apples to oranges,
Right.
because
Yeah.
the interoperability.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
other.
No, this is one of a kind. We don't need a second bid.
Right, and we'll be hooked up with, again, other municipalities, okay, in case of.
911.
911, and it'll give us the versatility of communication.
And at a good price,
There's no.
It's
Okay.
a phenomenal price.
yes. So let's close that one little piece, and then in our next meeting, let's vote on it.
Makes sense.
What little
sound
piece, little piece of,
Attorney.
The
Attorney.
possibility of cancelability.
If it's agreeable to both parties.
well, can we do it pending attorneys,
Well, you want to vote tonight?
yeah.
I think he's
Well,
anxious
we
to get
say
him
yes.
installed.
No, it's not anxious, it's a necessity.
Yeah, I know.
Because we had a truck off the road last year, we couldn't communicate with them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I realize that, but once we say yes, we've lost the negotiating
Well,
power.
pending attorney approval.
Yeah.
Again,
What do
that's
the
totally up
other
to
members
you.
think? What do the other
I-
members think?
I'm just bringing to the table
Okay.
what the concerns are from highway, what the concerns are for the town of Monroe, public safety,
Yeah.
and communications.
And what the weather will be like over the next 2 weeks.
We can't even comment on that.
Yeah.
So it's something, if you want a pending attorney, you'd like another estimate, comparing, again, a complete comparison. No, it
Yeah,
can't.
I
This
think
is unique.
I'll support it, pending attorney review.
There we go.
Right? What do you guys think?
I'm fine with that. I know that, and I'm not speaking for Councilman Waters, one thing he is very fond of is making sure that he reads these contracts not once, not twice, but many times.
I
So,
think we should.
I defer to Councilman Waters on this one. I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, you got it.
If,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept from Nycomco, the 5-year 50, I apologize for the mispronunciation. Again, sometimes I do that, and I apologize. I make a motion to accept your offer of a 5-year lease agreement. Could you spell out the particulars, please, again?
It's a 60-month program.
60-month program.
$775 a
At
month.
$775.
Includes a base station, 23 refurbished radios, base station's new. 2 new mobile radios, admin radios we call them. 2 portable radios that are new, and a remote control for the supervisor's desk.
Subject to the terms and conditions of your invoice and attorney approval. I'll make the motion.
also, if, wait, before I
Tony,
make
you
the
got it.
motion.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
Okay, if Mr. McWater, Councilman McWaters would like to meet with Bill and myself and go over the complete lease at his leisure, you're welcome. And this way, you'll be very comfortable, and the arrangement, the lease is spelled out.
Well, when you send a copy to council, just put me on as a...
Okay, on the list? Very good.
Why don't you send it to the whole board so everyone at least knows what the decision is with the legal counsel?
Right, and just make sure I get a copy of it.
That being said,
Do you want 2 copies tonight? Do you want the 2 copies tonight? Then I can email them.
Yeah. I'd rather have it via email.
Email?
Yeah.
that being said, any further discussion?
Sounds like a good
If not,
system.
call the question.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that was painless. All right. We have, Tony, anything else? Don't leave.
Yeah.
It has
Just,
to do with over up by
Balmoral?
Balmoral, yeah.
Yes, we have another bid, and it's for $3,400. I'm still waiting for the one bid. Peter says he has it. I'll pick it up tomorrow for 27,
I think it's 26 or 27.
26, 27,
2,700.
27.
Can we
John's
award?
here.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, so he won the bid, so I just wanted to get 2 bids, so it'd be fair.
Right, this is a retaining wall over on Balmoral Street. Place.
It's in our right-of-way.
Court. It's in our right-of-way. It somehow became damaged. It's in our right-of-way. We're responsible for the either removal or the rebuilding. It seems as though it's keeping character of the neighborhood to be able to rebuild it rather than just take it out. However, it is in the right-of-way, and it's part of the wall that's collapsed, and it's right at the curb. So this has to be done before the cold weather sets in.
Yes.
This motion would authorize the company at $2,700. Do we have the name?
John, what's the name?
BT.
Brian Thomas.
We can make that available for you
Thomas
tomorrow.
Construction for the repair of the wall at
Yeah.
Balmoral and Orchard.
and Orchard.
Yeah, and wall and pillar.
Wall and pillar,
All
yeah.
in
Right.
favor? Okay.
And in addition to restacking the stone, it's gonna put some concrete in
He
it.
is gonna put some cement in.
Right.
So it'll stay up. And it came down during a rain and windstorm in, I think it was August 11th this year.
But the freeze thaw we had all winter.
Yeah, and our Ben Maldonado, our building inspector, has been out there and said, yes, this is in the right of way, it's the responsibility of
Right,
the town.
that's correct. And we did the responsible thing of getting another bid.
I believe you mentioned that in your motion, Supervisor, just prior to your motion, that this is a retaining wall.
No,
Negative.
it's
No.
a wall.
Yes, it did.
No, I'm sorry.
It's a decorative wall, as I recall.
Yes.
Yes.
And pillar.
I stand
And
corrected.
pillar.
Well, my only point is possibly if it falls down again, maybe we'll just take the stones and put them somewhere else.
Well, that's up to the board's decision. It's in the right of way in town.
It'll
How it
stay
got
forever.
damaged, I don't
I'm sure
know.
it'll stay.
That's the next board. He's gonna use concrete. This'll stay up.
I believe that's all I have. You have any questions?
No, that being said, call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We made the motion? Yes.
Gentlemen, I must go.
Tony, is that anything else?
Excuse me?
Did you second?
No. Now, I need an email stating that the Monroe Berry School District could still retain
I'll
our
get it for you
solvents.
tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
Wait, point of order.
26 to 27.
Harley made the motion.
Did that?
Harley made the motion
Yeah.
for the first one, Dan seconded the first one for the pending attorney's review, for the lease. This gentleman.
I did the wall.
But the $26,000-$27,000 bid for the retaining wall, nobody motioned.
The wall.
$2,700.
No
2,700.
motion.
Okay.
2,700.
I thought I made the motion.
For the first one, yeah.
Okay, I'll make the second one then. Again, I'll make a motion to authorize Highway to accept the bid for $2,700 to B. Brian Thomas Construction for the repair of the wall
And pillar
and pillar at Balmoral
and Orchard.
and Orchard.
Dan, go ahead and second.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just one question. When do you think it would be up?
He can do it very soon.
Very soon,
Yeah.
very soon. Okay, that sounds like a government phrase.
Well, if you like,
Or the snowflakes.
I'll send you the email to see the
All right,
exact
thank you,
date.
thank you.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any more questions from the council?
Making of motions that we do one on the processor material.
No, we're gonna get another bid. There's a company in Syracuse.
Okay.
So, that's about it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Tony. Couple of
Folks,
things.
have a good evening.
On upcoming meetings and announcements, we have a town board meeting obviously today. We have the zoning board meeting on the 22nd. No, I'm sorry, I'm ahead. We have the town board meeting tonight, we have the conservation meeting on the 8th, and our ZBA meeting on the 24th. Taking us into early December, our next planning board meeting is on December 1st, and then there's a meeting at 7, there's a meeting scheduled for the Monroe Senior Center at 7 p.m. Our next town board meeting schedule will be Monday, December 7th, oh, sorry, 16th, 7th, and followed by the planning on the 8th. We have, Jerry? Okay.
He's coming back.
All right. Couple of things, we have notice of public hearing for proposed local law number 4, 2015. This is a legal notice, is hereby given that the Town of Monroe meeting to be held on November 30th, 2015 at 7 p.m. at the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center, 34 Mill Pond Parkway, Monroe, New York 10950, on the 3rd floor. The Board of the Town of Monroe will consider a proposal entitled Local Law Number 4 of 2015, a local law amending Chapter 57 of the Town Code of the Town of Monroe. The proposed law will substantially amend the existing Chapter 57 of the Town Code of the Town of Monroe and is available for review by the public as follows. A copy will be available for the public inspection at the office of the Town Clerk at 101 Mine Road, the Monroe Free Library at 44 Mill Pond Parkway, and online at monroeny.org. That was based on a motion that was made last week. We have a follow-up to that. We also have a motion that was made, I believe, by myself and seconded by Councilman McWaters, if I'm correct on this. This is a local law, number 5, introductory land use approval moratorium. as well as the next step, and that will be a revisitation. I'm assuming it'll occur sometime in end of December, but probably January, February. This will take quite a long time of the comprehensive plan. I believe that, and many of us believe that after the huge level of engagement and concerns by so many people regarding the annexation, that Curious Joel's petition is made to annex property into the village. There has been a considerable concern that those areas outside of Curious Joel, immediately outside of Curious Joel, are going to not be used as some type of weaponry to be able to enrich anybody. The town board, if we remember, voted for 164 acres. We felt and we asserted ourselves in papers to the Supreme Court Judge Connolly, who's hearing this case, why we supported the 164, why we believe that the school district would be best served if Curious Joel School District redrew, along with the Monroe Woodbury School District redrew its line so that to encompass the 164. However, we were adamantly against the balance of the 507. That is a major piece of property. There's a couple of things in there that I read the other day of a concern, and will certainly strike it the hell out of the Chapter 57, and that has to do with hotels proliferating in that area, in the RR3 area. First of all, we're not going to go for it. Second of all, it'll be taken out. And third of all, it would require at the end of the day that Steve Newhouse would have to sign off on these on the sewer permits. This is not going to happen. It is something which was in Chapter 57 originally. This, if you remember, this thing has evolved over the course of many, many years. So when we readdressed it, we looked at it and we listened to what some of the concerns were. Originally it was thought as that it might be an idea for tourism, but when we heard that it was being reinterpreted as some kind of an agreement to be able to have the Hasidics proliferate in these hotels, first of all, they have a right to do and go wherever they want. However, these assertions are something which were never entertained. They're assertions which were more, I'll use the term, almost manipulative than anything else, because they had no basis in reality. The the county executive, Steve Newhouse, would never ever approve all of these hotels in this RR3 zone that would wind up being subject to an already strained Orange County Sewer District 1 system. But that being said, part of this, the next step was a moratorium and a comprehensive plan. It was felt that by our attorney, annexation attorney and planning board attorney, but in this case, the annexation attorney, that as well as council here, that a moratorium and a comprehensive plan would be the next step to be able to stop, give us real serious pause, make sure that we didn't have any hardship conditions that existed, that we would wind up violating their rights or their efforts to try to have some better use of their property, but to take some of the builders and their absolutely inventive ways of taking single-family or R1 properties and turning them into what I will use as KJ futuristic housing of Curious Joel. And what you see behind us is a good example. It's been up there all night long. And these KJ lifestyle developments, this was on a small little one-family patch. It's in the RR1. I invite everybody to go, visit, and see exactly how many submissions are before the boards for this same kind of housing. If this is what the town of Monroe wants, this is what some people are planning is the future of housing in the town of Monroe. And it's not going to be just in the 507, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be outside of the 507. It's going to be anywhere where a developer says, why should I build a one-family house when compliments of whoever there is out there doing whatever they have to do to be able to suck up to whoever they have to suck up, that's gonna be the reality. So what you're looking at there, folks, is that's your new Monroe. Whether you like it or not, if the laws don't change, that's your new Monroe. It's there now, and there are gonna be more of them, unless these laws are changed. And unless we stop for a moment, look at a moratorium, and decide that we're going to change the laws, tighten them up so that these kind of, at this point, legitimate uses or misuses of RR1, single-family zone residential units, it should stop. Because otherwise, this is what otherwise what we can all expect.
Is this what they're gonna put in Shea Meadows? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Shea Meadows is a little bit different. Shea Meadows is a little bit different. Shea Meadows has its own unique, I'm speaking, thank you. Shea Meadows has a little bit of a more unique type of approach. Shea Meadows has it's a one family. But it's not gonna be good enough for a one family. You're gonna have to have two families, some people feel. Some people feel as though it should be two families, and not only two families, but two families with a fully usable basement. If this is what your community wants, our community wants,
Our community doesn't want this.
I don't think
No,
so.
listen.
I don't think anybody does.
Don't even talk to him. He's
Okay.
completely manipulating right now. Don't ignore it. I'll explain it to you later.
Someone's saying they're being manipulated. This is
Why she was
manipulation.
manipulated.
That's manipulation. Why is somebody defending this manipulation? What's the reason somebody's out here saying they're manipulating you?
Why
How can we
now,
be manipulating you now?
Harvey, why now?
This is what's being built.
Why does zoning
And if
change
we don't
now?
stop it
How long
now,
have you
it
been on
won't
the
stop.
board? How long have you been on the board, Harvey?
That being said,
Why now?
so as we move on, and we see exactly where the moratorium and the comprehensive plan goes, and we see exactly where chapter 57 goes, we'll look and we'll say, you know what? This is what we want, or this is what we don't want. And we're gonna listen to you. We listened to you tonight. We're gonna listen to you at the next public hearing to be able to see.
You know about it.
What?
You have to let the town know about
We're
it.
letting the town know about it.
Like in the papers, everybody.
We're letting the town know about it as best as we can, because a couple of months ago, I took Bob Quinn there, and it was just a footprint. Nobody could understand how unique this was until I took him the other day. And the board members went. I believe that Mr. Cardone went the other day with with Rick Colon. I believe that Mr. McGinn went the other day with Mr. Colon. I believe they went and saw with their own eyes exactly what this was. Are they shocked, or are they, well,
But Harley, isn't
relieved?
that a variance from the ZBA?
Are they
So
shocked?
these are legitimate use of, this is a legitimate zoning board application that could be challenged. However, there are loopholes in the laws. There are loopholes, and the question is, are we going to tighten them up? And will a moratorium that stops building but provides for hardship cases, and this is based on two attorneys' recommendations, based on hardship, then that being the only exception, will give us time to be able to preserve the future with zoning that won't lead to this any longer, not only on the other side of 17 and the 507, but throughout the town of Monroe.
So Harley, they wouldn't be able to go through ZBA for a variance?
Jerry?
Like that one, yeah.
This is going to get closed up, but this is going to get discussed more and more and opened until everybody sees exactly where how bright and intuitive.
The zoning laws don't matter if the ZBA is going to grant them a variance.
You know what, again, let's move beyond the point of a conversation with this and let the entire town board, let the public wind up engaged in this. I spoke with some folks from Tracy's Shoe this morning and some other people in the community, and I've asked them if they wanted to let them become part of a board, whether it's involved directly with the town board or an ad hoc committee that has some kind of influence in drafting a future comprehensive plan and tightening these laws so that we wind up not restrictive in an illegal way, but restrictive in a preservationist-like type of way.
But the
Because,
variances can still be granted.
again, these are things that we need to work out the details with. That being said, unless one of you.
Mr. Dolan.
Not necessarily.
Out in the hall, can I ask you a question? Because I came in the middle of your conversation.
Go ahead, Michael, I'll take it.
So I came in and you were talking about this.
Parley,
Yes,
we're not hearing
We're not hearing. Good, I'll repeat the question.
Is this, is this
You'll repeat the
permitted-
question.
Is this, what you're showing us here today is an egregious harm. Is this permitted by the current zoning?
It appears that somehow this use variance, somehow, I'll use the term, got through.
So it's a variance?
Variance. It got through.
So why would a change of zoning code have anything to do with this, if it's a variance?
Again, the,
Because this is a propaganda speech, that's why.
this is a propaganda fee. You're the propaganda fee that's helping to contribute to this, aren't
How did I
you?
help contribute?
And how did you? Go look at 3,000
How did
reasons
I help?
why.
How
Go
did I
look at
help
3,000
contribute to
reasons, young lady, and you tell us
He's
why.
talking about
Now it's my turn to be able to tell the public exactly what you're going to be guilty of.
Because what he's
If this doesn't change, you know and I know what you did. And all I can say is shame on you. Shame on you for cutting whatever you cut. That being said, let's move on to something more pleasant, except revealing everything about you.
What about nepotism on
Okay? What about a one-family house? What about a one-family house that somehow is turned into a 12-family disaster? 12 families. One of the members, and now, on top of everything else, on top of everybody else says, don't do anything egregious against anybody. We're not doing anything egregious against anyone, but you're encouraging it, we're gonna stop it. Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
now we're gonna move on.
I just
We're
gotta
gonna move on. Enough of your propaganda. Enough of your propaganda.
I just
The
want
proof is in the pudding, Ms. Converse. The proof is in the pudding.
I caused this development.
I want to speak.
You're causing the future of it, that's for sure. You're causing the future of it. Yeah. Go invite everyone everywhere. Go ahead, see what the public's gonna react to.
Do you realize how?
Invite them everywhere, where do you want me to invite you?
Okay, go take a look. That's what you want?
It's like you got us.
You got us
You
that,
got
Harley.
us.
You're
Not
the
me.
supervisor.
I had
Hold
nothing.
on, all right, that's it, let's hold on
You
here.
appointed the
Let me give
zoning
you,
board.
let me give you some background on the ZBA application. There were two on Raywood Drive. The first one, it was a single-family house, and while the owners had lived there, a cemetery was built next door to them. And that cemetery is surrounded by an 8-foot wall. Their backyard had a wall on two sides. They approached the ZBA and asked, is there anything we can do? Our property is now worthless. Who wants to look at these walls? And we granted them, after lots of discussion, we allowed them to have a 4-family. And if you go and look at that, that's a reasonable example. It's not this. It's the one across the street from this.
3 families.
3 families. This one came, and it's right across the street, and they also have to look at the sorry mess of a wall. And also the applicant told us that if there's a funeral that has to occur in the middle of the night, there's all kinds of noise and other ceremonies going on, and it's very difficult to live in that environment. So for that reason, the zoning board of appeals did grant a variance, a use variance on this property to have 4 families. Now, what happened after that, and believe me, we went through all our steps. We had the engineer test the septic for 4 families. We had the water reviewed for 4 families. And once we gave them the approval, and then once they started the construction, the footprint is what you see here. So what happened between the approval at the zoning board and then the actual site plan, which didn't get reviewed by anybody because that is not part of the law. We couldn't even refer them to the planning board for review. So that is a big gap in the current code. To give that kind of a variance and to get something like this from it cries out for further review. So ordinarily, many times our approvals, our motions for approval would include you have to go back to the planning board for final review. But nobody ever expected to see this footprint.
And
Now,
Dennis-
could it have been stopped? Possibly. Could it be stopped today? I suggested to the supervisor that we might have the engineer go back and say if that, because there was a
They had to
condition
shut it
on the
down?
approval, that, they had to comply with whatever the engineer requested for the septic. If this doesn't work with 12, we assume it's 12 families because it has a large basement, if that doesn't work, stop work order. I'm sorry,
Well, that's
there
code
are provisions
enforcement.
in the law that can be followed here to shut it down.
So what the town is attempting to do with the Chapter 57 change, this was something which Councilman McQuaid brought up. Councilman McWaters brought up, and Mike Donnelly was the one, and Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, who had suggested that we put in place a moratorium, and we put in place the start of revisiting the comprehensive plan. What we came out of in last week's budget hearing were two very important things. One, this Chapter 57, which would address substantially some of these problems, and two, to be able to justify a building moratorium in the town of Monroe, revisit again the comprehensive plan, so that we don't wind up with a type of situation which proliferates not only in the KJ lifestyle type of housing in the 507, but again, throughout the entire town of Monroe. So, and when you look at this, and if memory serves me correctly, this is on well water and this is on septic. Now, the irony on this is that it's in Orange County Sewer District 1. Peter, am I correct? It's in Orange County Sewer District 1 because it's within very close proximity to Curious Joel's borders. It's within spitting distance. It's right there. So it could easily wind up putting up laterals, supplying water, and accomplishing in many ways exactly what annexation would have accomplished. The only difference being, if you take a unit like this, just times it by 10. Let's say that's 120 units. 120, average family, 8. That's a serious number. You know what? Now how do we wind up living with that in terms of the water combined with the septic, combined with the population growth, combined with all of the voting elements that have people have voiced concerns about regarding the comparison between East Ramapo and Monroe Woodbury. So here we have not a town board which is kissing Curious Joel's rear end. We are absolutely saying we are at the point where we are going to take our borders and we are going to do with them and secure our borders in a way that this is not going to wind up proliferating. More importantly, not only on that side of 17, but everywhere else, a developer who wants to go with RR1 zoning and turn it into something beyond description and something which has no basis being in our town. We talk about rural landscapes or semi-rural landscapes. This, more than anything else, is something which none of us, I think, wants.
So RR1 is a single family house.
What?
Did Ben give them a building permit for this?
Yes.
Somebody?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So you had your ZBA on it and Ben,
In
and no one noticed this? Come on, guys.
on it? That's a
In on
strong
it.
term.
You know what? Again, when I took Bob Quinn,
He's an
ladies and gentlemen,
independent- he's
when
an
I took the
independent
editor of the
building
photo
inspector.
news
That's
there
what I would
a
call
couple
it.
months ago,
You don't go and tell the building inspector what to do, you'll wind up in a jam. I know a lot of people like to make up stuff, but when you have a building inspector in New York State, he's his own entity in the town. If you look it up, you'll find it. Let's not all call me names now. You can't tell him to give a building permit or not.
But
He
if
goes by
it's
his,
zoning,
hold on a second. You,
If he's not respecting
Can I do
the
one thing at a
zoning,
time?
you
I'll
can
put the gun down.
admonish him and then fire him.
listen, the building inspector does what he reads in the building law in New York State. He is a professional. He does his job. He's been there many years, and he trained under a guy who was there for 42 years. The fact of the matter is, he makes his call. We don't go there and tell Mr. Building Inspector what to do, and no one does. Now, maybe, listen, maybe people think that you should break the law and do that, but we don't. The other issue is with the zoning. The ZBA makes decisions. They're a quasi-judicial group. Nobody that I've ever seen on this board has ever gone and told a judicial person, this is what you're gonna do. That's not how it works. Now, do I feel that wait, can you let me speak? Do I feel that maybe, because I've consulted a planner myself on these issues, because I was actually asked to look in on it. Otherwise, I'd have nothing to do with it. I don't micromanage boards. I don't have the time to do it. I am not supposed to do it. But a constituent group came to me and asked me to look into it. I then went to a planner and asked opinions. Do I think some things were done maybe that shouldn't have been done? Maybe they were overly nice to people or generous on their decision? I'm not the expert. But the lawyer was there, the legal advice was there too. I was at one of the meetings. I just find it ironic, and I'm not going to get into political. I'm not blaming anyone for this. I'm not in this for the blame game. The fact of the matter is that whether it's this board, the incoming board, whatever political group, I don't think that it's being fairly put before the people of Monroe what's really going on here at stake. And I think that's the most important thing. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to be on this board in a few years. The whole board will probably change. That's fine. That's government. That's government. But, okay, all right, enough. But the fact of the matter is, we're entrusted with certain responsibilities. I don't mind if the rest of Monroe wants that all over the place, if that's what Monroe really wants. But you have to be given the facts. And when I put forth a Chapter 57 zoning law, which immediately gets attacked on Facebook and by certain groups of people, I'm not going to blame them. You can attack me my thoughts all you want. You don't blow smoke in people's face and not let them see what's really going on with these proposed amendments. These amendments are made. Yes, there's a tree code in there. I've said for years, 5 years we worked on this. It's not a disguised tree code as was put forth. It's inside Chapter 57. It's meant to be environmentally protective, respectful of business and development, but yet to take in certain footprints, protect the permeable surfaces in this town for erosion and runoff. It's meant to take away the loopholes before site plan approval when you're doing clearing of trees. It's also meant to address, and I really didn't get involved in this Ray Wood thing. I only recently found out exactly what was going on there. I think at the public hearing it should come up from the public what they want to do and look at it honestly, and maybe we'll make some more adjustments than even were made in this Chapter 57 zone. The only thing I did, and people are crying and screaming that we're looking to make accessory apartments special use permit. That's only for one reason only. That's not to tell people, as I've been accused of, that we're going to not let people have accessory apartments. That's only to say to the people who want accessory apartments, you have to go for site plan approval so that everybody knows what's being built and how much density, and the planning board can make a decision with the engineer and the attorney too, at their behest, to talk to them, and decide what's the best path for that development. Because and it was also quoted, I'm not blaming anyone, I think maybe they didn't know, that the reason people moved to Monroe was for accessory apartments. That's the most ludicrous thing I've heard in my life. I've never heard
5 in the last year.
I never heard anyone come to me and say, I love Monroe because I can have an accessory apartment. That's nonsense. That's being put forth, and we know who put it on the Facebook. Besides that, when the law was first put in by the old board,
It's amazing.
it was only meant
Amazing
for
hypocrisy of this.
I know. It was only meant for one
Sickeningly
reason.
amazing.
Stop. It was only meant for one. Let me talk. It was meant for one reason and one reason only. So senior citizens who are being taxed out of their homes when they retire.
Good.
When senior stop interrupting everybody, including you. The practical.
I just used the word busted, that's all I did. If you feel guilty about it, that's your problem. Go ahead. Excuse me, Councilman, continue.
Please. Everyone stop, please, for a minute. The reason accessory apartments and people who've been involved in planning longer than I will tell you was that senior citizens would not.
Stop.
What?
Tell him to stop. He's making stupid faces at her.
And he's staring
And
at
smirking.
her.
It's enough.
I told
Ladies and gentlemen, try to focus on what's really important and that. Try to focus on the building up there.
I have the floor, and I'm being fair to everyone, I think. Here's the thing, the accessory apartment was put in so senior citizens, after they retired, they had trouble paying the taxes as the tax rates went up quicker than their retirement incomes. A lot of people, not everybody. The fact is, that was put there so they could put an accessory apartment onto an already built home, or to renovate one into their home with approval from a building inspector to make sure everything was done okay. They could then help them pay their bills so they could stay in Monroe, which they might have grown up in, for all we know. Now, that was, the original law was meant also that you could, you know, have your mother come and live with you, or your son or daughter, and help you out. It was a mother-daughter kind of a thing. It was meant with the best of intentions. The thing it was not meant for, which has to be addressed, and that's what the special use permit will address. It was not meant to put up 50 and 25 and 30 homes in a development, all with accessory apartments built in ahead of time, and then
Nobody's
full
arguing with
basements
that.
in. Please
No
let me
one's
finish.
arguing with that.
I know, can I finish? So, I'm just explaining to people why it's in there. Now, I'm telling you, the only adjustments we've made is so A, people really see what's going on in their community, what the developments are, what's being put forth. We'll all make our decisions on if we want to pass this chapter 57 or not. We're going to have public input, just like we did tonight. This has been a lot more thought out than some of the other issues. I have to say that over 5 years with a lot of people. I also want to say this. If Monroe, wants to, look at it logically and not emotionally, not politically, we're going to run into a situation where this community it might change drastically, and it might never go back to where it was if we don't think of it as a community together. I don't care that everyone likes to yell and scream at me, you don't like me, that's not the issue. The issue is the actual laws and what's on the zoning. It's the most intricate thing I've ever done in government. I had a lot of help, I was a novice, still kind of am. But a lot of people from different sides of the fence all got involved and helped. And I think they meant the best for Monroe. Now, do I tell you it's perfect? No, and I want to take public input and we'll make some changes. But I think it's a good, solid code, and it does a lot for moving Monroe forward in a sensible way of not hurting development, but being careful with development. Because if we allow every developer now, and I don't care whether they're this kind of person or that kind, that doesn't matter. I get along with anybody, I don't care. I have to tell you, the doubling of the densities and tripling of the densities in the town on our side of the Quickway is what you should be concerned with. Now, if you want that, and I'm not saying anyone did, I'm not accusing anyone. If anyone wants to make a political deal or whatever to make that happen, that should just be made public. Make everyone aware of it if you're going to do it. If not, that's great too. But let's at least be honest with what we're doing ahead of time. And you know what? We don't have to bash each other over this. We're going to have a public hearing on the 30th. We welcome everyone to come in. It's in the library, it's in town hall, it's online. If you have any issues, call the town clerk's office tomorrow and look at it. It's just something I think that we got to look at as a group of people and get through.
But were you thinking about that when you went with this annexation?
Yeah, yes I was.
Actually,
Yes I was, can I explain?
That's a great point.
A great question.
That's the question of the night.
All right.
To keep them over
That's
there.
the question of the night.
Be quiet.
This was all brought up because of this annexation. Now,
No.
Wait, listen, let me
No.
finish. I don't interrupt
Quiet.
you ever.
Okay.
You were saying that this is gonna be our fault, that this is going to happen.
Not your fault.
No, he said it was her
No.
fault.
Well,
We didn't say it was anyone's fault. Whose fault? It's somebody's fault. Somebody,
you know what?
I'll use the
I
term.
won't care. It's
They work
me.
with people real well.
Stop.
It's not your fault, though.
okay, listen, the way I understood it.
Here's the mic.
Why would it be your fault? How could you possibly say,
You
it
said
wouldn't be,
wait,
it's not your fault.
Let me finish.
It's not your fault.
Okay, but let me finish, maybe I said it wrong. I listened to you, and you said, this is what the town of Monroe possibly could look like.
Yep.
Okay, let me go on. But this was not our fault. We aren't zoned for multi-dwelling homes like this. And then without that annexation of the
Thank you, Ward.
164 acres, then now you're allowing this to happen over
No.
there. so
Oh,
that's-
No, this is
No, the
original zoning.
164
Can I answer?
That's
I'd rather
original
answer.
zoning.
All right, this is original zoning of the town for many years. The only problem is, And it might not be a problem if people like it. I'm not judging it. I'm not gonna judge
Say
it.
that we like, when you,
I-
are you listening to what we're saying week after week after week? We don't want this.
I know that, but I'm not gonna tell you what you want. You have
We
to tell
agree.
us.
We've been
My-
telling.
All right, my point is this, though. I'm not the one who's gonna decide the future of Monroe, you guys are. The problem is this, it's original zoning, it has absolutely nothing to do with the annexation at all. What people don't realize is these accessory apartments are principal permitted uses throughout the entire town. Which means the problem is, on every lot in this town, or any development in this town, under current law, which was done by boards years ago with no ill intent, you could actually double or triple the original idea of what our density would be under the thoughts of the old boards, they didn't mean bad about it, they were just trying to help the senior citizens.
So now, if you change this now, there's gonna be a loophole, and you're gonna still allow this.
No, that's not the case. When you
No,
look at
just the
chapter
opposite.
57 zoning, which has been designed, and actually under public comment, this is why I'm bringing it to you, you have to make your feelings known on this, so that the town board can act on it accordingly. Right now, what I've done is I've limited it somewhat in my proposed amendments. If the town wants to really limit it more, you should look at where these zones are, make your decision on what you want in your town's future, on, let's just call it this side of the Quickway. And then tell the town board when you come on November 30th what you want done. And if we have a groundswell, what?
You keep saying this side.
What?
Because here's what's happening. If you go in the village of KJ, they have high-density housing, right? You asked what, I'm gonna tell you. Now, if they get the 164 eventually in court, which is in court, they're gonna develop more dense than we like, but they're gonna do it over there. The other problem is the other 343 acres, which they're also suing to get, if they win that in court, down the line, probably years down the line, they're probably gonna develop that in what Harley referred to as KJ-style housing. And that's gonna be their right to do that. The problem we've seen in this
Not if
town,
you're zoning, not if you.
no, that would be their zoning, not our
Their
zoning.
zoning,
That's
that's their
their zoning, not our zoning. I'm only talking about our zoning.
It's the ZBA, so you have to watch the board.
No, but we could change the zone so they can't do that.
They can-
Ladies and gentlemen,
It'd be very difficult for them to say for a whole development of 50 homes, you have a variance to do that.
Jerry.
You know that.
That's your board.
I just like,
Good, Peter.
One thing,
I like,
one thing. All I'm saying is you should come to the meeting.
I go to the meeting.
No, I'm not talking to you.
Me too.
People should come to the meeting on the 30th, make suggestions of what you think is best for your town. I would like to hopefully keep it out of, accusations and politics, because that really shouldn't matter. The problem that I said when I was over in KJ, at the meeting in KJ, when we voted on the annexation, my opinion, I've been vilified for it, for whatever reason, doesn't matter. My decision for the 164, I think, was a sound decision. It lets KJ develop over in KJ. It eventually will let their school district expand to those boundaries and stay out of our schools and prevent East Ramapo. What we should have done in this town, in my own opinion, we should have went with the 507. We should have let them have all of that land and eventually into their zoning over there, rather than have an impetus, because it's slowed down, to come out here and do it here. That was a mistake the town, I think the townspeople made. I'm not gonna blame it. I think there was a lot of politics involved with it, from the county level on down to the town level, that people's viewpoints were clouded with a lot of emotion and fear. The schools were not gonna shut down and lose their textbooks. The problem is, if eventually, in my own opinion, I actually think that we would have been better off with the 507 and changing the whole school district, keep them out of our school district. That's my own opinion.
Then why didn't you vote for it?
But I didn't have any support for that. And the public support here, and Emily, thanks for saying that, we don't listen to anyone. Obviously, we listened to everyone out here and went with the compromise position, because the people out in this end of town were furious with the word annexation. So this board listened, and 4 of us voted for the compromise. Dennis had his own reasons and voted against everything. That's his reasons. But really, we should have very seriously thought as a community, not as a board, to push to have the 507 go through. I'm not concerned as a town board member so much about Orange County and Blooming Grove and Woodbury, and I've lived in Woodbury. I was worried about Monroe and Monroe-Woodbury school districts. But you know what? The vote was what it was. I think it was a good compromise. Now we have to address this issue as a town. without any of the name calling and chapter 57's bad and this and that. Let's look at it logically. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Harley,
Peter?
I would, excuse me.
Peter, go ahead.
Excuse me,
Sorry.
I'd like to make a comment, and I've been doing this involved with town government here in Monroe for going on 25 years. I was on the town board for 20 years. I drafted the 2005 comprehensive plan with a committee, and Mary Bingham was in the audience, and she was one of the members of that committee. Dennis McWaters made a very important point that shouldn't go ignored, and it's called the site plan review. Because for 25 years, I have not known that the building inspector paid any attention to the site plan. When you get this issue where planning board spends an inordinate amount of time, 2, 3, 4 years working on a project. They come up with the absolute best layout for this project, how it fits, how it's ecologically correct, how it really fits in with their community. And once it leaves the planning board, it goes to the building department, who doesn't have to pay any attention to that site plan. And a lot of times they don't. So Dennis made a very important point. It's been a problem for us for years. And I hope that somehow, with these revisions in the code, you figure out a way to enforce that step back that Dennis just asked for, that you need to continue to enforce that the site plan is respected.
Maybe you need a better.
And that's the big, I don't know, it's just it's not the building guy or not building guy. It's that the town never came up with a way to enforce that that's what has to happen. Is that in the proposed revisions? I don't know.
That being said,
Actually,
Well, to tell you,
that was hysterical. That was a question, rather than an answer, somebody decided to, it was hysterical. We appreciate someone there finding it to be hysterical. And we don't know who that is.
Dennis wanted to make a
Dennis
point.
will,
Make your deals.
Dennis is going to answer.
Go ahead, make your deals.
Last week, this came up at the budget session.
No development at this time.
And
41 acres of
I agree that we need some changes in the zoning law. The comprehensive plan that Mr. Councilman McQuaid has referred to was developed back in 2003.
5.
And it took a long time for it to come to approval by the town board. And while I was on the planning board, God rest his soul, Charlie Finnerty was constantly on us and constantly on the town board to strengthen the zoning laws. And we were ignored. It probably, and nothing ever happened. Now, Councilman McQuaid has been working with the planner and others for the last 5 years to develop this chapter 57 that he's proposing for public comment and review. Last week when this was brought to light that we had to come up with local law 5, I was against this zoning law. Number one, the demographics, the economic situation in this town, and the geographics in this town are dramatically different today than they were in 2003, 2005, etc. The comprehensive plan needs to be revised, needs to be reviewed to make it appropriate for 2016, 2017, 2018. The chapter 57, if you ask me, it's got some, I guess, some good stuff in it. I tried to read it, but there were so many crossouts, and I was trying to reference back to current law. What we really need, and I voted no to have this become even the public hearing. I voted against it last week. And that's when I thought it would be better if, number one, we declared a moratorium on all building for the next 6 months. Form a committee to review the comprehensive plan and come up with new ideas and new possible coding for the town and to clean up 57, chapter 57. The way I see it is that this doesn't really solve anything. It may solve one or two issues. It's raised a couple issues, like accessory apartment, like hotels. Let's all get it in context of where we want the town to be over the longer term. The other thing that bothered me is, earlier on I made possibly a foolish or so statement and said I want a tree code before I leave office. And the tree code I was referring to was really the one that we had discussed back in March, April timeframe from the Conservation Commission. This particular references to tree code in chapter 57 is a little bit more than I think we need at this point in time. What we need is the tree code proposed by the Conservation Commission. So therefore, I think to put this into play, to ratify the changes to chapter 57 at this point are just, it's not going to work because it's not complete and it's not in the context of 2016. I would rather see a moratorium begin as quickly as we can make it happen, and as the supervisor mentioned, Attorney Donnelly has put together some things for us in terms of context of law, etc., which I just saw today, so I need some time to review it. I would like to see it come into play in 2016. We've got a new board, let them, come up with a committee of people from all backgrounds, all parts of town, etc., to see what of the code works and what of the code doesn't, in the context of a comprehensive plan that's current. And that was the reason I voted against this particular local law 5. I would rather have something more comprehensive. Just to give you some background on where I think we should be going with this particular effort.
Well, Dennis and I disagree respectfully. I'm not going to call Dennis any names. I hope you don't call me any. The fact of the matter is I think this has been a long time coming. A lot of people have been asking for it, and we worked on it with a lot of people from different backgrounds, different skill sets, and I think it does a lot of what we want. And at the public hearing, when you make your suggestions and comments, we can incorporate them in if they make sense. It's something that can be done as we go. And I promised, because Dennis actually did insist on it earlier in the year, and Dan and some other people have been also pushing for it, and as well as myself. I think it's something that we should vote on before the end of the year. And if you want to do a comprehensive plan rewrite, which takes years, and then implementing it, as Peter mentioned, takes years, at least you have something good, better than the old one, environmentally sound, respectful of development and business, but yet, with your input, will address certain issues we can't wait to address. Because if you wait to address these issues for years, I tell you right now, if you like it, it's great. If you don't like certain things, it's going to be too late. Because once it starts, it ain't going to stop. You don't put the genie back in the bottle. And to Mike's question, Mike had asked a question about if it addresses the building inspector. It doesn't directly address that. It addresses the situations around the loopholes. And it closes loopholes in the site plan, in the trees, in the site plan approval for accessory apartments. It closes a lot of the loopholes. And I worked on this for a long time, and as Dennis said, there's a lot to it. Specifically addressing the building inspector's function at the site plan approval. We had talked to the building inspector about it. He's aware of it. But that's something that the public should bring up too. That could be put in also. But it's a public document. It's not just my document. So
Sure.
I hope we can vote on it by the end of the year.
My turn.
Thank you.
Yeah, briefly, you're listening to this. The comprehensive plan was finished in 2005. It probably took a couple of years to put together. And then it took 3 more years before the town board approved it. Now, once the new comprehensive plan is in place, the updating of the zoning rules is supposed to come next. And that started in 2010, 2 years after the comprehensive plan. And it's gone on for 5 years. When I got here, almost 4 years ago, I read it and added my notes to it. And for one reason or another, it didn't get adopted. Now we're going to have a public hearing on it on the 30th and the opportunity to vote on it. I see this as the end of that cycle. So this rezoning matches the comprehensive plan we used to have. Now going forward, we're going to have a new comprehensive plan. We're going to have a moratorium. But a moratorium can disappear overnight with the bang of a judge's gavel. And a comprehensive plan takes years to put together. So to try to throw this revision away and then start from scratch puts us back in 2003. So the way I see it, this cycle has completed. It's the documents in front of us. We should look at it. If there's a piece here or a piece there, speak up and let's make this as good as possible. But the time has come. We have to make a decision on this now. And then going forward, 2016, new boards, moratoriums, comprehensive plan. Let's see what the future brings us. But this is the present, and this is what we're required to look at and make a decision on right now.
Well, let me give you some context here. One of the reasons I propose that we do this within a moratorium, the state has very strict rules about a moratorium. Number one, it has to be for a specific purpose. Number two, it has got a deadline associated with it. So once you establish it, you say it's good for 6 months, good for 9 months, wherever you think you need to accomplish it. Now, when I say accomplish it, I mean not only review the comprehensive plan, but come up with changes to laws that you see might be important. And it may very well be that Chapter 57 that's being proposed now could fit into that context. But we need the structure in which to review it. To have it, come out 5 weeks after it's been worked on for 5 years, I don't think is the answer. When you've got the moratorium in place, you can accomplish more things. I've talked to Peter about it, and he's mentioned it to me that when he was involved with putting together the comprehensive plan in 2005, it didn't take 5 years or 3 years to do the comprehensive. What took time was for the town board to approve it, and then subsequent trying to get laws passed to support that comprehensive plan. If you go at it and you know what your time frame is going to be and what the requirement is, and believe me, if you've got a moratorium in place, there's going to be a lot of pressure on a committee to get it accomplished. There's going to be every builder and every contractor is going to be lining up at the door. It's like, can I go? Can I go? So, it won't go on for 4 or 5 years. But I truly believe that if we don't do something in terms of a comprehensive plan, we may get that. And I don't know that Chapter 57, as proposed today, resolves any of that. Because that issue comes down to, number one, you don't have to change anything in the zoning board. What you do have to change is the fact that it should go from zoning board and possibly to planning board, depending upon the structure and the size. Number two, it should at least go back to the building inspector for site plan review. And the piece that I think we've been missing for a very long time is a very important function in this whole process of building, and that is the compliance officer. If we had an active compliance officer, that would have been caught. When I went out and saw the foundation for this, it was like, oh my God. And even today, as I mentioned before, if we were to pull the ZBA variance that was awarded, and we went through there and it said this number of families could occupy this building based on the comments of the engineer that said that the septic was good for X, the water supply was good for Y. And if those two numbers don't work up and it won't fit 12 families in there, shut it down. Stop work order. But we don't have that kind of teeth. And that's the kind of thing we need to be looking at in a comprehensive plan. And I'm not just picking on this one. There are many, many, many other things that need to be brought up to date. I've said enough.
Okay, one last thing on my end. There is a huge concern, immediate concern. A couple of weeks ago, about 2 months ago, there was an real estate ads that were taking the Rye Hill Corridor properties, in particular Shea Meadows, in particular a gentleman named Mr. Sorrentino who owns it. Somehow, there were this very large campaign in the Hasidic newspapers stating that these were for sale as two-family units. Clear as a bell, for sale, two-family units, come and live here. Now, they have a right, everybody has a right to live where they want. They're invited guests, and they're coming. But the problem is that these are not two-family units. The Rye Hill corridor is where we're going to have growth. It doesn't take many people to get to the 500 threshold where you can create a village. And now you have a new village. Now, I'm here, I know my business, I know most of KJ, I know probably every square inch of the unincorporated part of the town. And there's nothing that will stop, unless we have good laws to prevent it, from an area like the Rye Hill corridor, which is X amount of units, times now 2, or times 3, depending on how many people you can pack in, from becoming another village. This is something which nobody can possibly imagine how creative, how inventive some people are. So it's not just building an apartment, building something like this. Do you want another village in your backyard? If that's what you want, let's make sure we do nothing. Or let's make sure that we use the Rye Hill corridor as an emergency kind of situation where we make sure that the Chapter 57, the moratorium, and the master plan, the comprehensive plan, all wind up preventing an outcropping of these new villages. Because where do you see these new villages? You see them in Ramapo. Plenty of new villages over there. There are 7 actually. We don't have these new villages. These are created by extremely rich, very creative, very legal-based kinds of individuals. And they've done a hell of a good job. And if anybody thinks that perhaps I'm not being openly and honest, talk to some people who live in the Rye Hill corridor and ask them, is this what you're comfortable with? Do you have any reason to suspect what Mr. Doles is saying is not true? Because I think with their own eyes they're going to look and say, you know what? I think that new village is coming my way.
There are bands of Hasids looking at those houses, and there's Etzchaim right there. So they come out, they pile out.
Rhonda, that's not the point. He's trying to manipulate us.
Well, I don't want
no, you're
Hasids in my- I don't want Hasids
No one
in my
manipulates
backyard.
anybody except Ms. Converse manipulates.
They're right
Let's be
there.
real about this.
Right.
They
They
were
come
up
out.
there, she saw with her own eyes. Now what are you going to tell her, to close her eyes?
They're right
I
there.
saw what?
They're
What?
bands
Tell
of
her to close her eyes.
Hasids.
That's what you do really
What
well.
did I see, Rhonda? What did
Okay?
I see?
Go ahead.
They're bands of Hasids right there on Reynolds and Rye Hill. They're showing those 2 houses there, and they have Etzchaim right there. All they have to do is buy the temple. They'll have their own little community right there. One satellite right there, another satellite someplace else in Monroe, and then they're just taking over. I want want a single-family house area. That's where it
He
is.
set it up so people would say.
Was it
exactly
worth it,
what
Ms.
Rhonda-
Converse? Was it worth it all?
Rhonda, he wants you to be saying exactly
Yeah.
what you're
No,
saying.
I know what I saw.
Rhonda, he
Well,
wants, you
who
don't
are the
understand.
Hasids
You're
there?
taking
Why are
his
they
thing.
there?
Shut her down, why don't you, Ms. Converse?
I just don't want Hasids
Shut
in
her
my
down.
backyard.
He wants you to say what you're saying right
Yeah.
now.
All right.
Because he's
Let's
trying
move on.
to scare
Move
you.
on.
So that being said,
Well, I
he's
saw
trying
it,
to
so
scare
that
you.
being said,
So the Hasids aren't
then
gonna
if you
move in
want
there?
to,
Are you
and
telling
then
me
if
they're
you
not
want, I'm
gonna
going to
move in
finish
there?
this.
I don't
Then if you
recall
want
that.
one last thing, and that's go to Raywood. You're not only going to see this, but go to the end with a big smile on your face. Go to the end and show everyone what they're doing at the end of the cul-de-sac. No approvals that I know of.
What are your boards doing about it?
No
What's your
approvals
code
that I know of.
What's your code enforcement?
I just found out, I just went down that road this week.
And did you call Ben Maldonado?
Okay. So I went down this week. I'm sure that you've been down that road many a time. That being said, so we're going to move on now, and we're going to do what we need to do to protect this town, while you sit there with a big smile on your face.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh,
Good
you're-
going.
So,
All right.
so the bottom line
Okay.
is.
The bottom line is that we're moving on.
That all of
I need
this
that.
Let's move on.
was to
Let's
scare
move on.
people to support your zoning changes,
Yes.
which don't address this.
You're a real
No,
political
listen,
smart guy.
Michael, once
You
again,
know what,
Michael,
Mr.
you're
Egan,
wrong.
nobody's smarter
It does address
You're
it.
the smartest guy in the room.
Michael,
You're a really good
Michael, you're wrong
wordsmith. You're the
again, Michael. I
best.
know you're a smart
You're
guy.
right.
You're all this
You're
stuff.
real smart, Mr.
But
Egan. You
it
know
does
how to
address
be-
it. Mike, if I have
You're
to
a
walk
good
you through
sidekick.
1, 2, 3, I will someday.
You're a
We
good
can talk
devoted
about it.
sidekick.
But you don't understand zoning, so let's stop that right now.
Some people,
Here we go with the vilification
No,
again.
I just walked down the road, it's right there.
Move on.
moving on. We're actually on a happy note.
Move on.
The Orange County Jewish Film Festival had over 240 people at the last 2 weeks, last 2 Saturdays. The Orange County Film Festival hosted by the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center. They had 2 movies. One was Get, and the other one was another movie,
God's Slave.
God's Slave, and it was a great turnout. It was, nope, we don't want it. Somebody said, do you want those houses next to your house? Absolutely not. I don't think anybody does. But thank you. So, we're gonna wait. We're gonna watch. Good. There's a class. There's a class.
That's mature.
Here's
That's not too
a.
creepy.
That's really
He wasn't acting very mature.
No,
There's a lot of
but
heated politics.
whoever made that
You're
deal
right.
is acting. Whoever made that deal is not acting. That's not mature. That's dishonest.
You are a child.
That's dishonest.
Only the board could make that deal. So you're talking out your.
So we have,
You know what?
on the special orders of the night, we have a resolution to pay the bills.
I don't want that money, Ruth.
You don't want to hit my mouth?
I'll make a resolution to pay the bills.
Would you care to share what deal you're referring to, Mr. Knowles?
We need a resolution to pay the
I'm
bills.
making a resolution to pay the
I'll
bills.
second it.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Peter, are there any other budgetary transfers and amendments?
Oh, hey.
No. Okay, going on to the highlight of the night. I know that it's been claimed that the town of Monroe is on the verge of bankruptcy. Again, you've heard that repeatedly, though we have $5 million worth of assets, worth of savings. Cash. $5 million, which is higher than any other municipality in Orange County. However, when you listen to the nonsense, people look and they say, well, Mr. Martin doesn't know how to do math, it's fuzzy math, it's this, it's that, blah, 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 blah. Meantime,
Or
we have
dishonest.
over $5 million in cash. We didn't get that way by giving it to Kira's Joel or giving it away. We've done it through hard work and good fiscal management. That being said, this is one of the proud moments because Dr. Martin has worked extremely hard at trying to make sure he conveys some sense of fiscal responsibility on this board for a number of years at this point. I'm glad that I have Councilman McWaters, whose background is in finance, as well as a very engaged board, as well as many people here that have come to almost all of the budget meetings. The budget meetings define the future of the town. They define what's going to go on in the final analysis when this budget is finally adopted. So that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Martin, and he can present the town budget for presentation and approval.
Well,
Were you put the budget up?
you have it, you have the budget in front of you. We have not made, we had our salary night. You made 2 changes in salary. And the board changed the salary of the assessor and the salary of the senior dog control officer. So those are really the only 2 changes that you made. Nothing else is different. We're under the tax cap, safely under the tax cap. And the biggest issues that we face was number 1 for highway and the DA fund, which covers the brush and weeds and the snow plowing. And we're all familiar with the zero cash that we have right now in the DA fund. It's the only fund that doesn't have any cash. And the overspending of last year's winter. So making that up is part of the reason that there's an increase, a little bit bigger increase per home than there was last year. The average house in the village is going up about $19, and in the town outside, $25. That's really the basis of it. The rest we've discussed a lot. I think we're on a solid footing. I suggested, and the board went along with the idea, that
we should appropriate $75,000 from fund balance in the B fund to pay for attorney fees that are coming up, because we know there will be continued activity with the annexation. And in regard to that, I can tell you that I just received yesterday, this morning, I received a bill for $20,000 for additional attorney fees that are coming along for this year. That's part of the $75,000 that we appropriated a couple weeks ago. So I'm sure that that $75,000 will be gone by the time we get to the end of 2015. So we have 75 more for next year. That's basically, those are the highlights. We still managed to be able to, importantly, we still managed to be able to get permanent road improvements with the CHIPS funds and with permanent road improvements in the line item. So we'll move forward, not at the $500,000 worth of road improvements that were done this year, but we'll still be around $230,000 for next year, and I think that's a healthy step forward to continue the program of fixing the town's roads, which I know there's some people in this audience that are very concerned about seeing that continue.
Peter, how much fund balance have we used this year?
How much?
160 and 75?
No, that's for next, that's the adopted for next year.
45 for overtime.
I've got it here, let's see. I can find that to give you the exact number, but it's in the A fund, we've used about maybe $60,000 in the A fund.
Okay.
And the rest was in the B fund. We used money, $75,000 for the attorneys that we appropriated, that the board appropriated, not we. And the rest of the money in the B fund that was appropriated was for loans to 2 water districts that will eventually be paid back to the town. So there was that issue. And the town appropriated $360,000 of the A fund to lend to the DA fund, but again, that wasn't that wasn't an appropriation. That was a transfer. That was a loan. So that answered your question.
That's about 130,000. By way of comparison, our neighbor Woodbury, if I memory serves me correctly, the other day published theirs. They used applied $900,000 of fund balance. So here you have town of Monroe with an incredibly healthy amount of money in the bank. And again, contrary to the claims of that we're going bankrupt, versus Woodbury, which has a lot of revenue. They have a lot of expenses. But still, they wound up having to use $900,000 in fund balance to be able to stay underneath the cap.
Yeah, here it is. The bulk of the, as you can see on this slide, most of the fund balance that was used is from, I guess it's almost equal, isn't it? The A fund, 360, was a loan, and the B fund, as I said, we had loans due to emergency repairs, water tanks, water mains. So due from other funds in the B fund, $313,000. That money is slated to come back.
Okay. Peter, what else do we need to do? Council, and adopt this budget?
You need to make a motion to adopt the budget that's before you.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the budget that is before the board for the 2016 budget year for the town of Monroe.
Need a second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
I had a couple issues, Peter, and I mentioned it to you during the week of last week, and a few of the board members privately, individually, usually on the phone, I guess. There's 1 or 2 places where I think that we need to charge employees for their health care, like all the other employees get charged. I know that is not necessarily even a budget issue, although it does affect the budget. but I know I brought it up a couple times in the past few years. Actually, in 5 years, I've been bringing it up. I know with union contracts, there's contractual obligations and negotiations that have to go on for that. But in some other areas where it's in the unorganized labor pool, that we have the opportunity to make these adjustments. I've also been pushing for years now, even when Sandy was on the board, we changed the employee healthcare contribution. Some were at 25, they went to 15, and the zeros went to 15 to make it more fair and actually bring in more revenue. I also, the retirees went from 0 to 10, and I was looking for years to make it 15 to make everyone equitable. And I'd like to also make that, I know we don't have to do that tonight, but that was something that I want to move forward. I was told by the old board to phase it in over a few years. They thought it was also fair, but it would be phased in. I think a few years waiting with no change is phasing enough. So I think we should definitely be doing that. That's my opinion, but it doesn't affect what we do tonight per se. It'd be somewhat better for the town to collect some of these revenues. It's not a giant windfall, and it's not unfair to anyone. It's just coming with the current times where everyone pitches in a little bit for the medical plan they get. Monroe does provide an excellent medical plan and benefits for their employees, the full-time employees. And I just think it's fair, but just want to put that in so I don't think I'm going to do it later without mentioning it now.
Okay.
Or try to do it rather.
And just for the record, none of the town board members take health benefits. So that is a substantial savings. I don't know what's going to happen with the new board member or members, but it is a considerable savings when you compute that over the course of 5 people. Unless there's something else, gentlemen, need a motion to...
We did it.
I would like to make a comment about
Sorry, Dennis.
something that I'm just adding up now.
What's that?
I was referring to the income statement that I prepared a few weeks back when we talked about the theater budget. And at that time, we were looking at tentative appropriations of $1,039,000 and revenues of $685 for a net loss of $354. At least this is in my how I look at numbers. It was a net loss of $354. Now I'm looking at revenue of $653. Tell me I'm missing something, versus $685. So you've lowered your projection on revenue. And on the expense side, you've taken away about $36,000 worth of expense, which when I net those together and include the band principal and interest, it looks like the loss went from $354 to $450, which is, I think Mike and I would agree, is going in the right direction, but it may not be a sufficient number. Let me cut to the chase. I am going to vote for this budget because I don't see that we have any alternatives at this point. We've pushed everything about as far as we could on the overall. But what I would encourage the controller to do and the board to do going through 2016 is this review of where we are versus budget, how much we have left to spend, and if you want to consider that to be the forecast for the remainder of the year, that's how I would prefer to look at it. I think every month you should be reviewing the numbers in this format. To leave it all up to the controller, to have to wrestle with that every month and trying to balance the lines, I think it is really the board's responsibility at the end of the day to observe and make sure that the numbers are flowing properly, flowing the way they were envisioned in the budget. And as soon as something goes out of line, for example, if it looks like we're not going to make the theater budget from the revenue side or the expense side, that we take some steps. And that doesn't mean, moving it from line to line until we get to December and say, oh my goodness, what happened? this is something we really need to stay on top of on a monthly basis. There are too many, if you will, mandates coming down from Albany, be it tax cap, be it tax freeze. You can't wait until the 8th month when you do the budget, or the 12th month when it's all over, to determine whether or not you're on track. I think starting in the January results, you've got to get it out in this format. It may not be a P&L, but we really ought to look at it as best we can. I would encourage you to, and Peter, you and I have had some conversations, I would encourage you to run a balance sheet or an income statement for things like the theater, for things like the town clerk, for any of the services we're offering that have revenue associated with them. We really need to understand what we're paying for and what the results that we're getting. I've said enough.
Dennis, thank you. Gentlemen, call the question?
Aye.
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 Please let the record show that Councilman Cologne was not available for this vote.
Let me ask the supervisor, do we have any legal matters we have to discuss with the attorneys?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, and how do you want to handle it?
We're going to try to do this as quickly as possible. There's one very important thing that we need the attorney for, especially at this moment, and that is, under old business, this has to do with the lease agreement for Eights-Heim. This is the lease agreement that we had discussed, and I'm sorry, it's getting late. This is the lease agreement between the town of Monroe and Eights-Heim congregation. It would be for a 2-year lease at $100,000 annual cost. There were some concerns by the board members. They wanted a chance to review it. They expressed confidence that after speaking with Ben Oster, speaking with council, speaking with Peter, and speaking with members of the congregation, that this 2-year lease, which would be 100% deductible minus expenses for, shared expenses for utilities, would give the town a footing that many feel it desperately needs, not only in terms of occupying under one roof most of the departments, but it is the hope and expression of this congregation that built this beautiful building, that what the pains they took would go rewarded to the residents of this town, and not necessarily to the highest bidder. I know that they had concerns that they wanted to see this building go to the highest and best use, and that was for the townspeople of Monroe. Is it a good lease? It's a fair and reasonable lease. It's almost a carbon copy lease of what the library had. There were no objections then. It was reviewed. I don't see any major objections now, unless the board has had time to be able to review it. But it's a lengthy one, and I know the council has gone over it. It was prepared by their council, only because they had drawn up the paperwork before with the library. It's a good start. It gives the town a lot of opportunity. I mean, even in the parking is there. There's just so many opportunities for this building, and at almost what, midnight tonight? Is it? What time is it? 20, almost midnight. We stand at a point where we can do something we all feel is in the best interests of this community. Can we afford it? Yeah, we can afford it. Do we need it? I think most of us admit that it's time that we got out of the senior center and we started to, not to think bigger, but to think better. And this building I think all of us, every one of us who's gone in there, you know, we marvel at your imagination. You've done so much, and if the board this evening votes to support this lease, I can only tell you that this town will be indebted to you for your vision. That being said, gentlemen, I need a motion to accept the lease between the town of Monroe and Eitzheim as described in Schedule A and the paperwork attached.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
You need it for discussion?
I think the,
We need a second?
oh, you need a second.
That was your second. You were the second, Dan.
I thought I beat you already.
Okay.
No, I didn't say.
I didn't say.
Dan said.
All right.
Who made the
That's what
motion?
you like to say.
Now
made the
now
motion?
Still need a second, right?
Who made the motion?
Daniel Burke.
Harley made the motion.
Harley made it. No, he said, can I have a motion?
Okay.
Dan made the motion.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There's no second.
Oh, it must be near midnight.
There's no second.
No second. All right, so we need a
I'll
second.
second the motion for discussion.
Alex, you got that? All right, good.
Can I say something about this?
Yes, please.
Okay. I just want to point out, and I don't know what you guys decide to do, but I have not seen, and they cannot, I don't see it here in the package, and they can't give us a final version yet of the option to purchase, which would be integral to this. This is going to be subject to court approval for the option because they can't give us an option to purchase without court approval because of the nature of the religious organization that they are. So that is going to take a little bit of time, but if you guys vote on this, I just want it subject to attorney approval because I need to see the option agreement.
I don't know about that.
Can it be subject to the option agreement?
Well, it's subject to my review of this package,
Okay.
if that's okay.
No.
Then you'd have, if it turns out to not work out, the board would have to revisit that, or?
Right, then I would bring it to the board's attention.
Don't do it.
No?
That sounds like a big thing that you gotta look at now.
Yeah, that,
Well, I don't have that, and the problem is that they can't give us final approval.
I'll put it to you this way, from everything other than the legal issue, I think it makes sense. But I think the board should be cautious about entering into something like this without everything being ready. I mean, let's be honest, it's a good move, I think, for everyone involved, and then for the town taxpayer. But if that's not ready to go, I don't think we should make the motion.
I think we're gonna have a hard time, which is that I don't think they're gonna wanna go to court until they know they have a deal. So if we're gonna move forward with
Okay,
this.
I'm sorry, we have some people from the Eitzheim.
Oh, okay.
Would you let them speak?
Okay?
Call Ben?
You run the meeting.
Ben isn't here right now, but
Yeah, you have to come down and
Coming down.
get a microphone.
It's a long way down.
Yeah, okay, come on down. And then this is Diane Sass.
yes.
And
Not a white guy.
President is it?
President.
President, okay.
Mike over here.
There's one right here. Sit over here, here's my phone. Should be working.
Now, I know that Ben sent me copies of the lease, but first let me say, in order to get court approval, as I understand it, you vote that you want the lease, or the purchase lease, a lease purchase, I'm saying it backwards. Then we have to have the congregation vote to approve of that because it's a nonprofit and it's a church. And without the congregation, you cannot sell it. So they give us permission to sell it. When we get those two things, it then goes to the court. So at that point, the court says, okay, the congregation says it's okay, it's going to a municipality, it's also a nonprofit, there's no problems. You can also, of course, sell to a profit, but it's a little bit harder. And without that congregational approval, that I need the contract, it doesn't work.
So you've
That's
got
why
two
the
levels.
lease purchase was the best idea for you. and for us, because obviously it's going to take you time, because I think you also have to go to the state Supreme Court.
No.
No?
No, they
No?
can sign it.
Oh, no, I'm saying if you
Peter?
if you
For purchase,
purchase, I don't know who you have to do, I guess, something towards purchase, but for us, we have to go to the state Supreme
Right.
Court.
Because you're a nonprofit and you're selling the property.
But we're gonna smile real
Right.
nicely and make them put on the top of the pile
So
instead of the
so
bottom
what
of
you're
the
saying
pile.
is there's two conditions.
Mhm.
And it sounds like the conditions are serial.
Mhm.
And without the
Yeah.
town board voting, it doesn't get started.
See, if you vote, then I'm gonna hold a board meeting this week. I have to give 5, 6, 7 days notice to the congregation, otherwise it can't be accepted, so that can go out tonight. And by the end of next week, and then if you do wish this to go through, then we could get together, and I certainly will get you all the papers. I believe
I have it, it just was not attached to the package.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you have the.
I have the option, it just was not attached to
Oh,
the package.
Oh, okay.
To the agenda package.
So do we have to add anything to our motion?
Well, you might clarify the motion that there's the two levels that have to be, the conditional that have to be met. I don't know. Ask the attorney.
Peter?
Peter, what would you like?
Right, I think that the resolution has to include the fact that this is subject to both board approval by the congregation.
Congregation approval.
And, right, by I'm sorry, congregation approval and court approval.
And court approval.
Okay, pending congregation approval and court approval.
Peter, are we considering the fact that, I don't know, I'm not saying you didn't review it properly, but I know you just said it wasn't on the attachment with the agenda. Do you need more time to review it for the town? Do we put this as a pending attorney approval? Peter Tillman?
Yes, I would like just time to review the option piece of it. But that won't take me very long, so it should be pending attorney approval.
As well.
Does that affect you? Diane?
It does for the congregation meeting. For the board meeting,
Diane, it'll take you by one day.
yeah.
Right, I'll have an answer for you by tomorrow.
Oh, no problem.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Because you still have to meet and tweak and
Right.
make sure it's good.
Diane, if I understand it correctly, the tweaking is, and Ben, I believe, pointed it out the other day, that it was for 100% to be applied to the purchase price, minus
The utilities,
a 50-50 split of the utilities during that time.
right,
Okay?
and snow removal. Although I think you probably have.
We do our own. That being said,
And the third piece to pending attorney approval.
That's the motion.
Alex,
Dan,
you got all that down?
are you amending your motion, Dan?
Yes, yes. We've added 3 pieces.
Okay, then I'll second it again, just in case.
Alex, you have all that?
I do.
All right, thank you.
okay, sorry, Dennis.
While I'm not crazy about spending lots of money before the new board gets sworn in, I think there's probably some sense of urgency here from the congregation point of view, and I think it's a good deal. However, here again, here we go again, no plan. I mentioned it at the last meeting. I think it behooves us, if we approve this resolution tonight, that the next step is we've got to put together some kind of a timeline that says, what are we going to do in terms of actually what goes first, where does it go, etc. We just can't, just get a moving truck in Tuesday morning and just pack it up and install it someplace else. I don't think that's going to work.
Well, you're more than welcome to come over and figure it out in the rooms also, even before you rent,
Good point, Dennis.
And the attorney told us you could be out in a day and a half, so we do have to do some planning. I'd like to say also, I think everybody knows, the town hall, we left there because of the mold situation. We've got the records straightened out. They're coming back. We need a home for them. redoing that town hall, it might be very expensive, and then it wouldn't be adequate for all the departments we have. And the same with the Angelus Hall. So, and we're in the basement of the senior center, where, you know, where they need that space too. They use it for like doctor visits, computer training. Yeah, it's theirs, and they've been kind to us. And now it's over a year, so it's time for us to go. Besides, it's a basement, and I think I've said this a number of times. The town clerk's office has only one exit. If there were a fire there, they'd have to be carried out by firemen in hazmat suits. So the sooner we leave the basement of the senior center, the better. As a matter of fact, you can consider us homeless. So this opportunity is wonderful. So I'm in favor of it.
Dan, I've never heard of anyone homeless with $5 million in the bank, but.
But the money has a home, we don't.
And as part of the timeline too, I would ask you to seriously consider, as Dan mentioned, the town hall's gonna need some work to get fixed up. Put a referendum out to sell that thing. You wanna
Yep.
sell it as is?
As is.
Whatever. Let's start moving the real estate. You know, we wasted 2 years and not fixed it up, but maybe in retrospect, that's not so bad. We didn't waste our money on it. But in any case, this time we won, maybe next time we would lose. Let's get that thing on the market and move it.
Now, Dennis, you're suggesting that we're buying a property which is not taking it off the tax rolls, and we're actually gonna put other properties back on the tax rolls? Is this what you're suggesting?
Well, hopefully that's what the buyer would be.
I agree with you, Dennis, I'm just having fun at midnight.
On behalf of the town board, may we call the question?
Aye.
Question. Aye.
Aye.
Tell the town,
You
please.
got 4 ayes and 1 hallelujah.
It's 4 ayes.
Thank you
We
so much.
thank the members of the congregation that are up there.
They're
Thank-
sleeping.
They're sleeping, okay.
Thank you, congregation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you.
Good move for everybody.
Okay,
Letter B.
letter B.
Are we finished with our attorney now?
Our attorney will be in touch tomorrow, I guess, sometime tomorrow.
No, that was
Building department.
Peter, I know it's late, maybe sometime later tomorrow?
I think it was
Yeah.
scratched
Okay.
out.
I know it's late.
Did I hear someone say, do we still need the attorney?
Yeah, we're finished with the attorney.
Okay.
This evening. Yeah, so, thank you very much.
No,
You're welcome. I'll talk to you.
there's no attorney client?
Thank you.
Carlos? No? Okay.
And under new business,
Pardon.
letter A, we did that one, right?
I can't even do this quickly. I have to look. I'm looking quickly.
Peter, wait 1 second.
You almost got out of Dodge.
You're right.
Right, what was the letter? The, Agobi Hauser, not to, it's the application, the SPRTK application, not on the application.
Yeah, that's A.
A.
Don't leave yet, the good part is coming.
The good part's coming?
Yes.
Oh, maybe I'll stay. They have handicaps.
Well, we have rules of civility, which
I only known.
I think there's another one that we can handle ourselves.
What?
I think we can hold off on.
While Holly's shuffling papers, I just want to remind everybody here, I know it's late, please come to the public hearing for the Chapter 57 zoning on November 30th here.
You good? Okay.
I believe it's at, I'm going to say 6:30 PM. I think that's a misprint. I think that's a misprint, but you know what? Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm just reminding everyone, please come and make your comments and concerns known.
Terry, we had talked about the possibility of maybe having some workshops where people could come.
Oh yeah, thanks Dennis. Yeah, Dennis came up with a great idea, and I agree with him 100%. We'll publicly notice it, we'll get it out there on in the paper and on the Channel 22. We're thinking of having a couple little workshops on this thing because, as Dennis mentioned, it's a lot to digest. And we only have a couple months, well, a month and a half left in the year. And it's gonna be right down to the wire to vote on it, whether it passes or not. And I've talked to the planner already, and she's agreed to run a couple workshops. We'll notify everybody of it, just to explain things, make it easier. There's gonna be copies you can read that are just without the markouts, so you can read right through it and see how it looks as one plan to you, one chapter 57. Then another one that's redlined, which shows the strikeouts and changes of everything, so nothing. I personally don't think it's that hard to understand, but it is a little overwhelming if you first look at it. So, yeah, thank you, Dennis, for mentioning that. We're gonna have some workshops on that for people to look at. Even, you know, we're not gonna be voting on it, I guess, till towards the end of the year, so we'll even have workshops after the public hearing and, you know, keep people informed of anything that's going on with it. Thanks, Dennis. And thank you.
Okay, there's a couple of things that we need to get through, and I'll try to do this quickly. One is the approval for the McGooey House and Edsel to complete the SPRTK application not to exceed $1,000. That is the Sewage Pollution Right to Know Act, which went into effect in 2013. This is a requirement. We are obligated to do this. It's more as a...
Pretty much, if there's a leak, the public has to be notified. And it sets up a system for doing that.
We need that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion, call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. This is another one. This is the authorization for a partial bond release for the Glenwood School. This is the request to your Supervisor Doles. As you're aware, we have completed the construction of the Glenwood School building and have received our certificate of occupancy from the building department. I would like to thank you for your efforts. During the application process, we were required to place $69,727.11 in bond for the duration of the construction. Since we have received our C of O, we would very much appreciate if we could be refunded for the above mentioned amount. I appreciate your help. Sincerely, Isaac Walters. The response back from McCooey, Hauser, and Edsel is that based on the above, as well as our review of the site, is our recommendation that the town hold and maintain a completion bond of $24,000 to ensure completion of the remaining work at the site and also to cover any restoration work following the winter months. We recommend that the balance of the security should be released. That works out to a release of $23,476.25. That's under recommendation from McGooey, House, and Edsel. Glenwood School is the Satmar School located over by where the big mikvah is being built. Over by
Forest.
by Forest.
I'll make the motion that we release the funds as recommended by the town engineer, Mark Edsel.
And we can stick the amount in there, right?
Let's take the amount of 23,000 and change in the
$23,476.25.
$476.25.
We're keeping 24,000.
Okay.
Right, so it's
Funding the
43,000.
balance.
The important thing is the keeping 24,000 because there may have been some interest in the interim between when he got his number and today. So
Okay.
the idea, if your motion was to retain 24,000 and release the balance of the bond.
That's the best way to say it.
That's the best way to
Okay.
say it.
And that's
Okay.
what Jerry said.
I'll redo it. What is the retention money?
24,000.
Even?
Yes.
I vote
No.
that,
No.
No?
let's make sure we're right on it.
No, this is out of the,
Come on.
go with Howard, Hauser, and Edsel.
24,000 even, but to return back.
No,
Yeah, to
Yeah, no,
retain
I'll make the motion that we
24,000.
retain $24,000 on the bond for the school, Glenwood School, as recommended by the engineer, Mark Edsel,
I'll second the motion.
And to return.
and to
the
return the balance
balance
to
to the,
the applicant.
I'll second that motion.
Call the
That
question.
balance would be $43,476.25.
The money we're returning.
Money
Dennis.
we're returning.
Yeah.
except it may be a little bit
Might
higher,
be a
there
little
might be
interest,
more
but
interest.
the 24
Plus interest.
sealed it.
But just, that was informational, that wasn't part of it.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I seconded it. I seconded it twice.
Does Discussion, I think the engineer made the call and he looked at it carefully.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
We had one further item, and it was for we had already done it. It was for processing material for to grind debris. I think that is.
You had that.
We did it.
We're getting another item.
That was for, yeah, you did another bid.
Moral report we did.
I think you've covered it all.
Said you can't authorize it until bids.
You want to do the hire?
Yeah, we need to do the hire.
DJ.
All right, we're going to approve, I make a motion that we approve the hiring of DJ Bakayaki for a part-time snowplow driver pool. The request was from the highway superintendent. I talked to both the superintendent, the shop steward, and the incoming superintendent about it. They all agreed, and I think it makes sense. He's a gentleman who recently retired out of the full-time workforce there, part of the unit there, and he knows the routes, he knows the plow trucks and such. He'll be plowing snow, basically.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Did you say, you said part-time seasonal?
Part-time seasonal, I'm sorry,
snowplow.
part-time seasonal snowplow driver in the pool. He'll be used as needed.
Okay, and I second that.
How much?
He'll be making what every part-time seasonal snowplow driver makes, which is every hour they work, they get $24 per hour, no benefits. Any discussion?
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay.
Harley, any more?
No, I think that's it. Yeah. Regarding Mr. Baghiyati, there were some issues, there was a concern. No, I'm going to do this stuff.
I don't know. Personnel, do it executive session.
We need to make a motion to go into executive to discuss one issue regarding personnel. Sorry.
How about
We
this
can
one?
do it standing up.
How about that one? I mean, Monroe.
It's too complex.
Okay.
It's too
You want to
complicated.
go into executive session?
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion, we go into executive session for
I apologize.
personnel.
I
It's the last issue of the night, there's nothing else.
Little bit of.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
second.
Aye.
Aye.
Third.
All right.